But boy, when you go to the really old stuff, you know, the really old stuff is very strange.
I'm telling you, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, I actually had a staffer that went to Ethiopia. She was on a church trip, and she actually brought me back a copy, and she's like, you can translate it via Google Translation, so kudos to modern day technology. So I have it in my office, and actually when I did my swearing in, I actually did my swearing in on the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible.
Wow.
It's cool. It's direct translation.
That's kind of crazy. It's you know, I would wonder what the impact to all these religions would be if we had definitive proof that we're not alone.
You have the Ethiopian Orthodox text, which has, I think, 88 books of the Bible in total. But in the Ethiopian Orthodox text, it's basically kind of like a mainline OG version of the Bible. And then sometime in the 4th century, there was actually a group that came together and they removed certain books. And the story goes that Revelations actually had replaced Enoch. And so it's interesting because when you're looking kind of full circle on, you know, you hear the stuff that some of these people are talking about, and then you see and you read the Book of Enoch, which is a wild read, okay? And then you look at kind of what our modern day description is of what angels and entities are versus what Enoch was seeing and reporting in his language and ability at that time. I think that there's a lot that brings you to then ask the question, well, why would they remove this information? If it's truly, you know, written in part of the oldest Bible in the world, why would they then take it out and water it down? And well, some of them are written by prophets, and then, but I mean, Enoch is apparently supposed to predate even the time of Genesis and talk.
The nuttiest one is Ezekiel.
I'm telling you, Enoch is even crazier than Ezekiel.
Like, explain the nuttiness of the Book of Enoch to people.
Well, it's okay. So if you read it, it talks about the fall of angels, thus creating really the precursor of civilization that led to the first flood. I think that when you even go into potentially the technology that was given to mankind by these angels, it talks about the hidden beliefs and theories in astronomy, etc., metalworkings, all of it. But it really does explain, you know, you were talking about earlier how you have a lot of these religions around the world that kind of say the same thing. This is kind of the OG text that leads to those stories that we're hearing from many religions around the world, to talk about angels mixing with mankind and then seeding a super essentially race of humans that essentially were responsible for basically damning mankind to the flood. I mean, you hear about stuff in Greek and Roman mythology, people who had these super crazy powers. And you talk about it out loud and it sounds crazy, but that's what the book says. And then the fact that it was taken out and then it's poo-pooed, yet you have one of the oldest religions in the world via the Ethiopians that actually still have it. You have, you know, the Catholic Church that has books that are missing out of the King James Version. I'm just saying that, you know, when you read it, you should read it and decide for yourself. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to what you're saying, but truly give it a chance and see what you have to say. And then, you know, you're going back to this whole concept of if you have this information pertaining to UAPs, whatever they might be, the origins. I mean, if you have a understanding of what Enoch was talking about, kind of makes sense.
You know, the really old stuff is very strange.
I'm telling you, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, I actually had a staffer that went to Ethiopia. She was on a church trip, and she actually brought me back a copy, and she's like, you can translate it via Google Translation, so kudos to modern day technology. So I have it in my office, and actually when I did my swearing in, I actually did my swearing in on the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible.
Wow.
It's cool. It's direct translation.
That's kind of crazy. This is nuts.
I think we're probably going to be responsible for like the Book of Enoch sales probably increasing on Amazon.
Well, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. I need to read it now.
You'll trip out if you read Enoch and then follow about the fall of mankind and the angels with, you know, and this is Christian theology, right? So like angels came down, rebelled against God, interbred with humankind. That would be, I think, a good starting point for what potentially the Anunnaki were.
While Enoch was resting in his bed, sleeping, two extraordinary figures suddenly appeared beside him, greater than any men he had ever encountered on earth. Their faces radiated like the brightness of the sun, and their eyes burned like blazing lamps. From their mouths fire seemed to emerge, and their garments shimmered with what looked like feathers. Their arms, adorned with golden wings, glowed beside his bedside. They called to him softly, "Enoch, Enoch." Startled, he awoke from his slumber, and they spoke with gentle assurance, Be of good cheer, Enoch, and do not be afraid. The everlasting God has sent us to you, and today you shall ascend with us into the heavens. They lifted him up, placing him upon their wings, and together they soared above the earth, carried by the clouds. Higher and higher they ascended, past the air, and still further into the realm of the ether, until they reached the first heaven. There the Elohim revealed to Enoch the human and divine mysteries, and he also learned about the moment when the angels had fallen. As humanity grew and multiplied in those days, many beautiful daughters were born to them. The angels, the children of heaven, saw these women and were filled with desire. They said to each other, "Let's choose wives from among the daughters of men and have children with them." Semjazar, their leader, hesitated and said, "I'm afraid you won't all follow through with this plan, and I alone will be left to bear the great punishment for this sin." But they all responded, "Let's swear an oath together and bind ourselves to this plan, so no one backs out." So they all swore together, binding themselves with a solemn promise. There were 200 of them in total, and they descended to earth during the days of Jared, landing on the summit of Mount Hermon. They named it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves with an oath there. These are the names of their leaders: Semiazaz, their chief, Arakiba, Ramel, Kokabiel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakijal, Asael, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakiel, Samsapeel, Satarel, Turel, Jomjael, and Sariel. These were their captains, each commanding groups of 10. Together with these leaders, the rest of the angels took wives from among the women of earth. Each chose one, and they entered into them, defiling themselves. They taught these women magic spells, charms, root cutting, and introduced them to the knowledge of plants. The women became pregnant and gave birth to enormous giants whose height reached thousands of feet. These giants consumed all of humanity's resources, and when humans could no longer provide for them, the giants turned against humanity and began to devour them. They sinned against birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, and even began to eat each other's flesh and drink blood. The earth itself cried out, accusing the lawless ones. Azazel taught humanity how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He revealed the secrets of metals, how to work with them, and introduced the crafting of bracelets, ornaments, and the use of antimony. He also taught the art of beautifying the eyes, the value of precious stones, and the use of dyes. Wickedness spread like wildfire. People indulged in sin, committed fornication, and became thoroughly corrupt in their ways. Semjazar taught the knowledge of enchantments and root cutting. Armaros taught how to undo spells. Barakijal shared the secrets of astrology. Kokabel taught about constellations. Ezekiel revealed the knowledge of clouds. Arakiel explained the signs of the earth. Shamsiel revealed the signs of the sun. And Sariel taught the course of the moon. As humanity perished under the weight of their corruption, their cries of suffering rose up to heaven. Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven, and what they saw broke their hearts. Blood flowed across the earth, and lawlessness spread like a plague. They turned to each other in despair and said, "The earth, once peaceful and uninhabited, now cries out with the voices of the suffering. Their cries have reached the very gates of heaven, begging for justice." The souls of humanity were pleading to the holy ones in heaven, asking, "Please take our case before the Most High." In anguish, the angel spoke to the Lord, saying, "O Lord of lords, God above all gods, King of kings, your glorious throne has stood for all generations, and your name is holy and blessed forever. You are the creator of everything, and all things are under your control. Nothing can be hidden from you, for you see all. You see what Azazel has done, how he has led the world into darkness, teaching humanity forbidden knowledge."
I think some kind of brain-machine interface that can give you cybernetic superpowers, I think, is probably good. It could, help people that have brain or spine injuries. Enable people who've never spoken for years to speak again, which we've done. Give people eyesight who have lost both eyes or the optic nerve, or maybe have never even seen at all, blind from birth, by direct interface to the optical centers in the brain. You can actually restore eyesight or give people eyesight that they've never had before. And you can enable people to walk again, which I think is profound. I mean, these are kind of Jesus level things, like, let's say, like when technologies are hitting like Jesus level miracles, that's pretty good.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you all for being here today. One of the biggest concerns I have with this whole discussion on AI is a failure to admit, first and foremost, that it does appear that in the next 10 years that the way that we have grown up and know life with AI will be forever changing. With that being said, there are a few differences that I think most people acknowledge, in that AI lacks a few things, one being a soul, also empathy. And we are not gods or God, and so I think that we're playing a dangerous game, especially moving into a future that's simply unknown right now, especially if we do not essentially develop the first AI super weapon. Essentially, that's what this is. Whoever does will essentially control the world, and I think that that's a very serious topic that needs to be discussed right now. But specifically to transhumanism and coupling of AI with humanity, what regulatory frameworks can be established to ensure AI-driven transhumanist technologies like brain-computer interfaces prioritize human safety and consent? Is there the possibility of regulation, though, that exists that would enable transhumanist enhancements that exacerbate social inequalities, or basically financial inequalities, creating an elite class of enhanced individuals? I bring that up because we're talking about low-level jobs potentially being removed from the workforce, people that have and can afford the ability of, for example, implementing or implanting chips, given access to unknown amounts of knowledge, and essentially creating the first superhuman. This is a real concern. I know it might come across as funny to other people, but I am genuinely concerned about this. From a bipartisan perspective here, we're talking about humanity versus machine. Hopefully, in a flowery world, we would have it set up to where it could improve society for the best. But I'm also in politics, and I have a very, unfortunately, sometimes negative perspective on the world because I've seen the worst of humanity in this job. I have one more question, just real quick, yes or no. Would either or any of you be in favor of the U.S. government, through either the DIA, NSA, all agencies involved, Pentagon, even creating a super AI, I would maybe term it guardian AI, to actually train up based on our principles to defend the United States and potentially world against maybe a more nefarious actor like China, creating the same super weapon, because AI can only fight AI. I think you guys would all agree with that, in an effort to defend the home front.
I think we can't do that yet.
Not yet, but maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future.
Okay.
Maybe, but I need more about the details about what that means, because there's a lot to unpack there.
Unqualified, probably, to weigh in on that one.
I'm supportive of any sort of sovereign AI that we think
Sovereign
makes sense.
AI would be a good name.
I think government alone cannot do it. I think public-private partnership should be required in this case, because otherwise we will not be able to confront China.
Thank you.
I am an alien.
You are. Please, now you are uncovered.
Yes. I keep telling people I'm an alien, but nobody believes me.
Going back to Musk, who is one of the predominant people driving the driverless car, electric vehicle agenda? Elon Musk. What else is he doing? Oh yeah, the plan is to, and it's already happening, to create what I called decades ago a technologically generated electromagnetic field that encompasses the Earth. And they call that now the smart grid. And the idea is to create what these insiders call, when they're selling it, the cloud, where every inch of the planet is covered by this technologically generated electromagnetic field. We could go further with that, and how they are seeking to connect humans and the human brain to that field. So it becomes a technologically generated sub-reality. So, okay, how do you hit every inch of the planet with this electromagnetic field of 5G and 6G and 7G to come? Well, you can't do it with towers. You can do it in communities with towers. You can't cover every inch of the planet with towers. Well, you've got to do it from space. So what they're doing is putting thousands and thousands, they've already got permission for tens of thousands, though permission's not a problem because the cult owns the regulatory agencies, of low orbit satellites firing 5G and 6G, 7G to come at the Earth, so that people, this is the excuse, people in the Sahara Desert, for instance, can get access to CNN and Google, right? But it's not for that at all. It's to create this electromagnetic, technologically generated sub-reality that's meant to impact upon our minds and perceptions. So who is leading the rush to put tens of thousands of low orbit satellites to fire this stuff at the Earth and every inch of the Earth? Elon Musk. Then Musk comes out a few years ago now and said that AI could be the end of humanity. And I've been pointing that out for a very, very long time, long before he did. But that's the idea, that humanity as we know it is no more. And so what you going to do, Mr. Musk, about AI being connected to the human brain, which you say could be the end of humanity, or certainly as we know it? Well, what I'm going to do, says Elon Musk, is I'm going to start a company called Neuralink, and I'm going to connect the human brain to computers. And he's just announced this week that he's confident that very soon they're going to be able to start human trials. So then there's another agenda, which I've been writing about for a long time, which is to force people into micro homes. These are going up all over the world, that are very, very small, very tiny. And who's producing micro homes now? Tesla, Elon Musk. So when I look at Elon Musk, I look at actions, not words. And I see that he, in his companies he fronts up, SpaceX, the satellites, Tesla, the cars and the homes, and Neuralink, he is ticking and pushing and promoting and driving major elements of this cult agenda that I've been exposing for decades.